Hello, hi, here we are. It's Wednesday, 2nd of December. We're now in the season of Advent. We're looking forward to the birth of Jesus, and we've made it to the end of the last lockdown. We're starting to get the idea of what life's going to be like over the next few weeks, and to be honest, it's not going to be that much different from the last few weeks. But we know now that Christmas is going to happen in a limited way, with some of us being able to meet a limited number of people over a limited period of time. And it's great, it's exciting, isn't it? It's starting to get difficult to imagine what it would be like to organise a big get-together. We have, throughout our lives, enjoyed organising big family events. I remember when the children were still at home, Jill and I used to have a big annual Boxing Day party. And back then our lives were busy. Jill was working full-time, I was working full-time. We were both out all the time, and so we got everyone who we knew, family, friends, acquaintances, neighbours, all to come round on Boxing Day. We used to send invites out with our Christmas cards. I used to invite the whole church, an open invitation in the parish magazine, and we always used to end the invite by saying, no need to RSVP, just turn up. So it was very exciting because we never knew whether no one would turn up, that never happened, or whether hundreds would turn up. Well, we certainly had over 100 on some occasions. We just had to guess how much alcohol to buy, how much food to prepare. But there was always a starting time. At first we started to put a starting time on the invitation, and then we realised that it didn't really make any difference. People still turned up long before the starting time, sometimes catching Jill and I still in our dressing gowns trying to get ready. And we used to have a finishing time as well, but we soon realised that, well, people took no notice of that, so we stopped bothering. So it used to start any time on Boxing Day morning, and it used to last anywhere up to the small hours of the following day. Friends, family, even complete strangers sometimes would come. I had a great time, and it all seems a far, far away from the current situation that we're in. It's as far as it is possible to get. Well, today's reading that we had in church this morning was from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 15. And Jesus, we see him dealing with a large gathering of people. We've learned about him feeding the 4,000, even bigger than our Boxing Day parties. And at that time, Jesus' love, compassion and miracles were starting to grow large crowds to him. People were following him, listening to his teaching, asking for his healing. And their amazement at the miracles he performed gave them confidence to ask him if he would help them. At the end of what must have been a very busy and exhausting day, Jesus' main concern for the crowd was, we need to look after these people. We need to feed them, he tells his disciples. Well, the disciples weren't expecting to provide a picnic for 4,000 in the middle of nowhere, and they're quite restrained. They say, well, where can we get enough bread to feed these people? Such a crowd. And we can imagine, they probably felt a bit outraged. But Jesus, on the other hand, is just full of compassion. He's compassionate, he's practical, and he's miraculous in dealing with the situation. Well, what have we got, says Jesus? A few loaves and a few fish, say the disciples. Well, give them to me, says Jesus. Then he thanks God for the food, breaks it up, ready for the disciples to distribute. And not only is everyone fed, but there's food left over. This miracle, described in just a few verses of the Bible, tells us so much about Jesus and so much about faith. Last week, as some of you know, I spent 3 days on Zoom attending a virtual meeting of the General Synod, the governing body of the Church of England. And it was a long 3 days, as you can imagine, but I was very taken as the Archbishop set forth the vision for the future. It can be summed up in 3 words: simpler, humbler and bolder. Well, I like that. And we see examples of all of those qualities in this passage from Matthew chapter 15. Simpler, We see the simple faith of the people who trusted Jesus to heal them, the simple faith of Jesus himself, that his Father would feed so many with so little. Humbler, Jesus' constant concern for the welfare of others. He is the Son of God, yet he remains humble. Though he's exhausted after ministering to the crowds for days, he makes their needs more important than his own. And we see the humility of the disciples, their common sense told them there wasn't enough to feed everyone, yet still they were obedient to Jesus. Bolder, because Jesus trusted his Father so much, it allowed him to be bold as he ministered to the people. He knew that they would be healed and he knew that they would be fed. He only had to say the word. And the crowd and the disciples, well, we see that the more they got to know Jesus, the bolder they became in their faith and in their trust of him. So, as we come out of lockdown and move into the season of Advent and into the new Tier 3 lockdown, how can we be simpler, humbler and bolder in our faith? Well, let's look to Jesus as our example, who in whatever situation is always compassionate, practical and open to the miraculous. May that be our experience. Bye for now.